Hello everyone, I'm Tommy with Studio Sense. Today I'm going to be talking about my top five, that is, fall or autumn fragrances that I'm looking forward to wearing this fall, this autumn, which is kind of now. I want you to understand, however, that this is a top five in terms of what I'm looking forward to wearing, not necessarily the top five or the absolute best fall or autumn fragrances. These are just fragrances that for whatever reason either flew under my radar, or when I got them, it was kind of that season that it was created for was kind of ending and it was transitioning into a new season, and I didn't get a lot of chance or opportunity to wear them. So when we return, we'll go over that list, talk about those fragrances, that and more, so stay tuned. Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I'm talking about my top five fragrances for fall and autumn that I'm looking forward to wearing more of. So we have five fragrances to go over. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Starting in our number 5 position is a very well-known fragrance. It is called Burberry London. So Burberry London, let's check out that presentation. Burberry London came out, I believe, in 2016. Antoine Maison-Dew is the perfumer. Definitely giving indication of fall weather, but I've heard some good things about this fragrance. I'm gonna try it out. Has a good atomizer. Overall, I think it's a really good concept. It adds like a third sensory experience to the actual presentation, because not only do you have the bottle, not only do you have the smell, the juice inside the bottle, but you've got this tartan or plaid swatch that is obviously Burberry, for anyone who knows Burberry. Bergamot, lavender, black pepper, and cinnamon leaf are in the top. Unusual heart notes of leather, mimosa, and port wine, which is wonderful heart notes, resting on a base of oak bark, gaiac wood, opopanax, and tobacco leaf. So that tobacco leaf almost smells green, and I really like that because it reminds me of Versace Man in a way. If you've ever smelled Versace Man, I think it's appropriate that it has a port wine and a mimosa note in it because it does feel aristocratic in a British way. This is a British company. Just like someone would see this and immediately go Burberry, you smell this and you immediately go, oh, refined, it's Burberry. You can imagine wearing this and sitting inside a cafe and looking outside of a rain-streaked window. Burberry for men is a rich, dark, it's a lightly sweet, semi-dry, just like the wine that's in it. This also has kind of a scent profile that is reminiscent, at least to me, of Givenchy Gentleman. It has that richness to it, that aristocracy in the juice itself. Throughout all the supportive roles and notes in this, there is a very refined, super clean lavender piercing the middle of this fragrance, and I really like that lavender. It is a top note, but it manages to pierce through the mid into the base. And in the dry down, it's one of the more predominant notes in this fragrance. So if you're a lover of lavender, you'll really like Burberry London for men. Last year, one of my favorite female perfumists, Annick Minardo, created a Hugo Boss fragrance that is Hugo Boss bottled Absolute in this particular type flacon or bottle. This is my number 4 pick. I feel like it kind of should be a little higher up, but I've actually had the opportunity to wear this a little bit, but not a super lot, so I'm really looking forward to wearing more of this. This is a relatively simplistic scent profile, but in my book, keep it simple, stupid, KISS. In the top, you've got 3 fruits. You've got bergamot, apple, plum. So this is very fruity in the open, with heart notes of cinnamon and cashmere wood, 2 notes that are run true in the DNA of most Hugo Boss wintertime or autumn time fragrances, resting on a base of various woods with a fixative musk in there to keep everything together. This is one of those that's super clean, it's super warm and fuzzy in the nose. There's something lightly fluffy about it, slightly alluring, very seductive. This is one of those fragrances that it's really hard to get your nose out of because you just want to keep smelling more and more. You want that profile just to feel all your senses because it's so very pleasant. Bergamot providing that bright sensation in a burst of the open. Apple, of course, that famous DNA that is in pretty much all Hugo Boss fragrances, especially the Boss bottled line. And then you've got plum providing a really nice fruity, kind of a meaty portion of that open. But primarily once you get past now the fruits do last a little bit from the mid into the dry down. You kind of keep that apple pie, but it's almost muted. But primarily what you get out of this in the dry down and what stays with you and where the longevity really comes from is that cashmere. That cinnamon and cashmere. The cinnamon there is to lift it off the skin. The cashmere gives it that woody, dusty, slightly sweet sensation that is wonderful in this. Boss Bottle Absolute is great in terms of performance. I get a good 8 to 9 hours out of it. It keeps a nice warm kind of aromatic bubble in terms of its sillage trail. The heat of your body will stir up the aroma itself, and then as you move about, that's what creates your sillage trail. The projection, if it's just static, if you're just sitting there, the projection is about a foot and a half for a couple of hours. So it's really good in terms of projection, but it shines, in my book, in terms of longevity. And that's why it makes the number 4 spot, Boss Bottle Absolute. In 2016, Sophie Lavalier was tasked with creating a flanker of a very popular fragrance from Valentino, and that is Valentino UOMO. And so its brother is more sophisticated, in my book, more refined, and that is my number 3 spot of fragrances I'm looking forward to wearing more of this fall and autumn is Valentino UOMO Intense for men. Let's check out that presentation. I really like bottles that are very noticeable even from far away, and if you've ever seen this bottle before, you know immediately what it is. Oh, that's Valentino UOMO, or Valentino, in this case, UOMO Intense for men. It is a studded bottle. Now this is a tester, that's why I didn't have it wrapped up, and you saw on the very back of the box that it is a tester. And I highly recommend getting testers when you can, just because it keeps your price down, but you're still getting the original product. Now this one also came with a neat little protector here, which is kind of cool, which I hold on to. Similar to Hugo Boss Bottle Absolute, it has a relatively simplistic scent profile. In the top, you've got clary sage and mandarin orange. You've got a heart of iris and tonka bean resting on a base of black leather and vanilla. So a lot of really nice, deep, dark, rich notes that make this complex. But the amazing thing about this fragrance is that when you spray it on, and I've only worn it a couple of times, when you spray it on, you smell this incredible, realistic, lifelike leather. And yet it has so much more in it that just adds to that lifelike component of leather. Now, leather has various stages in its drying, just not to wax, textile too much, but there are many different kinds of leather, right? There's black leather in this. Overall, just the general idea of what you have in your mind as being leather oriented, that's what this fragrance represents. A lot of people will think of Dior Homme or Dior fragrances overall because of the iris note that's in this, and that iris does really work very well, and it is reminiscent of Dior. But pink pepper gives it some buoyancy. Of course, that mandarin orange is a brighter fruit, so it keeps this from being similarly dark, right? Not too dark, too drastic, not at all challenging. If you are a fan of iris, if you're a fan of Dior fragrances, and the note of iris in particular, you're gonna really like Valentino UOMO Intense for Men because it's an iris-centric fragrance. And that's why it's in my number 3 spot of fragrances that I'm looking forward to wearing more of this fall and autumn. Valentino UOMO Intense for Men. Coming in at my number 2 spot is a very well-known designer fragrance from the house of Salvatore Ferragamo. It was created by Alberto Moria in 2018, so it's only a couple years old. But it is fantastic, and it is Salvatore Ferragamo's UOMO signature. Now the UOMO line itself is great. I recommend owning all of them. Let's see, Casual Life, Urban Feel, UOMO, the flagship, that tiramisu. If you like gourmand, that tiramisu note's amazing in UOMO. But UOMO's signature beats them all in terms of sweet, gourmand, heavy. Don't get me wrong, this is a very heavy fragrance. It can be cloying. It is not one of those fragrances that you want to rock out in summertime. Maybe in the cool evenings of summer or the early mornings, but you step outside and it's going to choke you out because it's very, very sweet, very heavy. But all those are wonderful constituents to have and to carry with you when you're layering your clothing because it's cold outside. That term sweater weather or sweater fragrances, these all appropriately fit in that category. Italian mandarin and pink pepper are in the top. Green cardamom, cinnamon, and cedar are in the heart of UOMO. Patchouli, tonka bean, leather, and my favorite note in this, coffee, is in the base. Coffee and leather, oh man, you talk about two notes that work really well together. You've got, both of them are rich, both of them are dark, both of them are complex, but they align with each other and they work in tandem. When your olfactory sense picks up that coffee note and that leather note together, and then you add on top of that some sweet, the green cardamom and the tonka bean, and they add the richness to UOMO's signature. It's an amazing, wonderful fragrance. It will give you a good 12 hours. This to me is a banger of a fragrance. For a designer fragrance, you're getting a best bang for your buck. And this was one you can overspray. Be very careful. You want to do probably 4 sprays of this at most on your arms, 1 in the back of your neck to create that nice sillage trail as you're walking. Salvatore Ferragamo UOMO signature is an highly underrated, I think it had some hype at one time. Not a ton of people are talking about it. It's one of the best gourmand fragrances ever in the designer realm. That's why it's made my number 2 spot of fragrances I'm looking forward to rocking out this fall and autumn. Coming in at my number 1 spot of fragrances that I'm looking forward to wearing as the weather turns cooler. Let's go over the notes and see if you can guess what it is. Okay, first of all, it came out, it's a flanker. So there was a flagship that was released, and then the flanker was released like 3 years later. So 2015 was when this fragrance came out. In the top, you've got grapefruit, you've got pimento and black pepper. You've got spices in the mid, and that's cinnamon, cumin, and saffron. So it's got a spicy heart, resting on a base of tobacco, amber, vanilla, and cistus. With all those spices in there, have you figured out what it is? Yes, you are correct. I can hear all you guys saying it in unison. From Victor and Rolf, SPICEBOMB Extreme. Let's check out that presentation. SPICEBOMB Extreme is probably one of the best projecting fall and autumn and wintertime fragrances that's maintaining its status in the designer realm as one of the best fall and winter designer fragrances. Now, talk about Christmas in a bottle. This one to me smells so much like that evening or that morning or that middle of the day, whatever time of the day it is that you and your family, or you by yourself even, you and your cat, you and your dog, set up your Christmas tree. So it's, to me, this is a very Christmassy type fragrance. There's nothing better in my book to spray on your body than a fragrance that has so many good memories attached to it and associated with it. When you think Christmas, you think family time, you think getting together. This is what sits on top of the Christmas tree. To me, it incorporates all those great, wonderful, warm and fuzzy feelings associated, you know, like the movie that AMC plays nonstop on Around the Clock Marathon, Life is Wonderful. This is Life is Wonderful in a bottle. Just like the name, SPICEBOMB, right? It is a grenade. It does have a pin on it that you pull that allows you to spray it, and I'll go ahead and spray it. This is one of those that, have you ever traveled to a small town? Every state has an old side of town. There's usually a shop or two that's like a mom and pop shop, you know, maybe an elderly couple owns it. When cold weather comes, they open up, you walk into that shop, and the first thing that hits you in the face is this really, really strong smell of what's called potpourri. Potpourri is like pine cone, typically pine scented, very wood scented. It's very cinnamon oriented, clove, nutmeg, all these things come together and create this potpourri of flavors and aromatic smells. And it's very strong, it's very in your face. And there's a lot of shops that do that because it just smells good and it's very inviting and very welcome. SPICEBOMB Extreme has all of that. However, this goes a little bit deeper than just smelling like potpourri. It's a very youthful, it's very seductive and alluring. So this to me is a great date night fragrance, or just a date fragrance in general. It covers that area. It also covers the very masculine, extremely clean. It's a very provocative, evocative fragrance, and this is another one that you want to be careful of overspraying. It's very easy to do. You don't want to spray 10 sprays of this on your body because you're going to choke everybody out around you. This one will take 2 to 3 sprays at the most, will last all day. Above average performance in not only projection, but in longevity as well. And that's why it's made my #1 spot, SPICEBOMB Extreme by Victor and Rolf. Well guys, that's it for my top 5 fall and autumn fragrances that I'm looking forward to wearing more of. Do you have some favorites in this list? If you do, and you've enjoyed wearing them, let me know. If you think other fragrances belong in this list, let me know what you're looking forward to wearing this fall. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my video today. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I hope you and your family stay safe out there. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.